All right, fellas, how we doing? Good, great, good to see you. Well, amazing how fast the semesters go nowadays. The fall was good, went fast. Christmas break obviously is a awesome time of year to connect with family, and then the moment we get back, I mean, it is like every day you've got to get the most out of it. It's a small window to get a team ready to play, but I've enjoyed this group a great deal since day one, and they've worked really hard for us. Some good kids, some great returning players that provide us. I think in today's day and age, it's a privilege and it's a thrill to have numerous kids going into their third and fourth year together with you. So I appreciate them, and I'm thankful every day they're here. And I'm very appreciative of our newcomers and how quickly they've given the team their minds and their hearts to work for our team and get ready to go compete together fiercely every single day. That's what you're asking of them to do. So, yeah, I like this team. The life of a coach is day to day growth and focusing on helping them get better every day, and that's what we've done to this point. Really, you know, other than that, I know we play a baseball game here a week from Friday, and that's hard to believe. But we're excited. We'll take advantage of some good weather today and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then game week. So
When you have six position players back like you do, Coach, what does that do? I guess leading up to the season when you have so much experience back, and then kind of when you have experience going through a season that's as long as it is, how does that help you?
well, it's certainly nice to have some guys back that have played a lot of high-level baseball for us. You mentioned some returning players on the position player side. That's nice. Obviously, the starting rotation and some of the first guys out of the bullpen from a year ago are gone, and those guys did an amazing job. So it's nice to have a place to start with hopefully guys that have experience and can set the tone for us, and then allow the rest of the guys to settle into new roles, adjust, and start to mesh together as a unit. And so it's nice to have some returning experience on the everyday lineup side. But really, I think the most fascinating thing to see is how guys respond to new opportunities and how guys will rise to the occasion. And we've seen that in years past, and it's one of the awesome things about college sports is who's next. And I think one of the cool things has always been, before a great newcomer or a great freshman or a great player emerged, they were an unknown player. And so watching those guys emerge and step forward has always been really the thrill of why we do this, is to grow players and grow teams and watch guys step forward and lead their team and perform. So that's always the fun. It's to help each kid get to their potential and see them have those moments. But I do have, like I said, an appreciation for returning players, especially players who are, deeply invested in the program and have put a lot into this.
Nolan is obviously not a new guy. People are going to know who he is from day one when they're strategizing for how to attack you guys. What do you want to see from him as he approaches this year, and what do you think he's capable of in a season like this?
Well, he's so consistent as a person. He's a very hardworking, focused individual. You see it in his schoolwork. You see it in his daily demeanor. And I think you'll see it in his performance. All he can do, as would be the case with any player, is play the pitch correctly and win the pitch. And if winning the pitch means it's a pitch to hit, drive it. If it's a pitch to take your walk. If it's a defensive opportunity to impact the game, make the play. Sometimes if kids think they're supposed to do more than that, then they can get outside of their game, right? I think his biggest challenge will be to stay inside his game. And if the opponent tries to neutralize certain things he can do or pitch around him, he has to be willing to take his walks and contribute to the offense through getting on base and trusting his teammates. So most of the time, the guys that can build on successful seasons and have additional successful seasons and continue to grow are those that continue to maintain that poise to just play the pitch correctly. And sometimes that's hard to do because you want to impact the game, but you can only impact the game as it comes to you. And to his credit, I thought last year he did that. His freshman year, obviously, he burst onto the scene and did that. And he did that playing amongst other great players. And I think that was a real comforting thing for any player. But now people will probably, to your question, try to steer around him when they can. But pitches to hit will present themselves. Opportunities to make plays will be there. And he'll be ready because he's that kind of player.
You still see him as your left fielder on a regular
Well, he's
basis?
been playing a lot of right field, and he's been playing some first base. So he'll be prepared to play left field. He'll be prepared to play right field, and he's prepared to play first base. And that's all part of just our personnel and guys that we have and how they all fit together on the diamond. So, yeah, you're going to see him at one of those places for sure. Yes.
Are there specific areas of growth that you either expect to see him progress this season or that you're looking for? Is your primary focus helping him manage maybe some of that different attention he might get this season?
Oh, it's both. I mean, because I think for him, those are what's on his plate right now. But he's up to that. I mean, he hasn't he had great experiences last summer when the college season ended. The summer season continued to expose him to growth and opportunities. He handled that quite well. He's a smart kid. He knows that. He knows what he's capable of doing, and he also knows, to your other question, where he still needs to get better. So he certainly doesn't think that he's a finished product, and none of our players ever are. So he embraces the work each day to adjust his swing and hit a different pitch a little bit better and run the bases a little bit better. So he's in the constant pursuit of being a better player himself. He's by no means a finished product. But I do think for him, maybe more so than some, it is managing the off the field celebration of what he's done to this point, expectations. It's all good stuff, right? Those are great things to be preseason this or preseason that. That's a compliment to what you've done in the past, but he's not caught up in that. He wants to keep getting better. And so he's in good headspace. He's a smart guy and takes his life seriously. Like I said, he's a 4.0 student. He's a hard worker. He's a great example of a guy that's here building his life. He's building it in the mornings over there on campus, getting a great education. He's building it over here in the afternoons, being part of the ball club, and he's building overall in the young man that he is. He's an awesome example of why college sports is still a beautiful thing.
I think you enjoy this part of it, the art or science of putting a lineup together.
Uh-huh.
And for Nolan, that's kind of critical. You've got to protect him and, to maximize your team and maximize him. What's the challenge of that in putting the lineup together?
Well, I haven't jotted one down just yet. We've been so focused on just like the daily work right now of getting ready to play and really capitalizing on some of these beautiful days that we've had. So we've been in the headspace of what do we need to do today to grow the team today, and then tomorrow we'll focus on tomorrow. But I think as you start to lay the lineup down and look at creating a balanced lineup, a lineup where the offense can be effective against both right and left-handed pitching, putting the lineup together where certain players could benefit from being on base in front of a certain hitter where they might get pitches to run, and then also who has the heartbeat and pulse to enjoy hitting with runners in scoring position. Those are all things that every good lineup you've got to think your way through, right? So you've got your table setters, guys that specialize in good long at bats and getting on base, guys that could benefit from the opportunity to steal a base, especially if a hitter behind them is getting a lot of breaking pitches. And then guys that really have that heartbeat to hit with runners in scoring position. So you'd like your lineup to turn over, either 1 through 5. Those first 5 guys complement each other exceptionally well. And then hitters 6, 7, 8, 9 start that over and do the same. Some years your lineup could look in sets of 3, like these 3 guys back to back to back really work, and then these 3 behind them complement it. So some years your lineup just really flows. This year I think we're going to have a lot of quality players helping us create that 1 through 9 dynamic, and I don't think it's a set lineup. I think you'll see different faces pop up in different places and help us win. So, last year we had the luxury of hitting certain guys in the 2-hole, getting them to home plate often. I think Carson really thrived up in that space. And obviously the way Zach Earhart came on last year to go along with Nolan and Aiden and so many other good, solid, tough at bats. Those guys were really solid in that regard. So how it lays out just yet, I'm not sure. Probably start putting some things down this weekend. That way through scrimmages they can look at their there's a good chance I'm going to be standing over here at first base a lot with this guy in the batter's box, and here's how we would trigger the offense from there. So, but one thing's for sure, good players fit in lots of places. That's nice to have good players because they can really make, whether it's the 2-hole, 3-hole, or 4-hole, there's different ways they can create offense.
This may sound like a crazy question, but I'm doing a feature story on coming up with the right bat size. And I know Nolan swings a 34 and a half. Do you help your players with that, or is that a personal thing, or how do you go about? Because sometimes a guy you can see when you're watching, he's swinging too heavy.
Sure.
What do you do there?
There's a lot to that. I think, look no further than golf at how amazingly technical and specific fitting the golf club is, how it's weighted, how it feels in their hand, how the player moves. All those things do matter. Nolan's a big man of 34 and a half, creates a little bit extra length, which kind of lines up with his body, and it fits quite well. I think back when I played, I swung a 34-inch bat left-handed, but only a 33-inch bat right-handed, and that was because of where my dominant hand fit in the swing. So you're factoring in their dominant hand, the hand that's strongest, the one that does the most work, and also to dial in their swing, how they control the bat. And somebody who's more control-driven might choose to swing a shorter bat, or if they want the length, they choke up. They want the barrel, but they want the control. So, fitting a bat to a player is absolutely part of finding your swing. And when Robin was around a lot, he used to always bring old wood bats from his playing days, and the guys loved tinkering with them because they had different knobs and different handles and different barrels, and they weighed different amounts. So I think you really see that in pro baseball, where the wood bats are crafted to fit the exact specs of a player.
With the aluminum bats, though, the handle especially.
Yeah, our bats they definitely have styles and feels to them for sure. I think players pick inside of 2 or 3 different models that feel different based on how they're built for top heavy, balanced, or maybe a little more handle heavy. But I think the wood bat you see, they're kind of customizing those to each individual.
Avery, Donovan, Colin all had really good freshman years. Just kind of what do you expect from those guys stepping into year 2?
Well, they're important. They're certainly important. I like the idea of, bringing our own kids in, playing them, developing them, and growing alongside them. You mentioned Avery. I thought he had a great freshman season. Donovan was on his path until the hand injury, but he got back on there and contributed. And Colin did some great things last year as a freshman. So 100% look at those guys at the end of last year and say, I believe in these players moving forward, and counting on them to grow, take the next step, and be major contributors. So for sure, I couldn't agree with you more. They're important to the roster, but also to the dynamic of, we want to get really good players. We want to go to competition with them, and we want to grow alongside them, so that we have the ability to manage a roster successfully with our homegrown players, and then complement them with the necessary newcomers, to have a stable, well-rounded, well-planned-out team. That's part of the roster management challenge that I think you have to have confidence in your own players, and then complement them by bringing in players that really fit the roster. So, I think a lot of those kids.
What does Jason Jones bring to the team?
Well, Jason's a kid we knew quite well in recruiting him out of high school. He was a really well-known player. We had him in camp at a young age, so developed a good relationship. And he was a very talented, gifted recruit. We, I think, got the silver medal in the recruiting process, finishing second to Arkansas. He went over there, started his career, and this summer decided he was looking for a different environment, and it was a good fit. We thought he had a really good talent that was there, and a relationship where we knew the young man, and he identified with where we were going and the opportunity to step in here and help us. So he's a strong kid. He's got some offensive upside for sure, and defensively can play third base, could play first if necessary, and has played some outfield. So just another good quality athlete with good offensive potential and some good versatility in the athleticism that he brings to the field.
You mentioned getting a silver medal in recruiting. That used to not mean anything. That used to, might as well have gotten last. Nowadays, with the portal, is it important? Is getting second in a recruiting battle maybe a little more beneficial than it used to be?
I think relationships have always mattered in recruiting. I think because recruiting is so built on how people feel towards one another, that when I think what you have to get comfortable with as a coach is putting everything you have into the recruiting experience with the player and knowing you may not get them, but also being able to walk away from that experience and still appreciate the kid and his parents and understand how they came to the decision they made. If you can do that and you genuinely enjoyed and cared about the kid, they're going to know that. And then if they don't find what they were looking for, they might say that relationship that was built there is worth reconnecting with. That's ultimately what that means. I jokingly say silver medal. That's just an internal phase. When you lose in a recruiting battle, you say, well, we probably got the silver medal, but we didn't win gold. Just meaning you put in a lot of work and you went after a kid you thought a lot of and you didn't get them. Sometimes that happens, but a lot of coaches, I think, will respond to that. I would say incorrectly, and maybe burn a bridge or a relationship rather than just recognize, hey, he's a good kid. He picked a good school. We didn't get him. Hope he does well. And if not, who knows? It's a small world. We might come back across each other's path, right? And in Jason's case, that happened.
Sorry, was that something you learned how to do, or like earlier on in your coaching career, were there times when you maybe took it personally when guys went somewhere else?
Well, I had a very amazing life experience. I got recruited. I was lucky enough to get recruited a long time ago. I was honored that people thought enough to recruit me. It broke my heart when I didn't choose their school because I felt like I let those coaches down. Mark Marquis flew here from Stanford twice and gave me an opportunity of a lifetime to go to Stanford. Danny Hall flew here from Georgia Tech, gave me an opportunity to play at Georgia Tech. There were several others, and in the end, obviously, my heart was here, and I wanted to play baseball at Oklahoma State in the worst way. But I was so thankful they even gave me the opportunity that I told them at the time how much I appreciated it. I learned real early that as a player, you should realize how lucky you are if people think enough of you to consider you. So obviously, I had great parents and a dad who was a coach, so I respected immensely what coaches would do and the effort. I was a young coach at NC State. I was married. I had a beautiful newborn daughter, and I was a volunteer coach at NC State. We had a rain delay against Georgia Tech, and Danny Hall was the coach at Georgia Tech, and we're standing in the batting cage, and we got to talking again, and we reconnected, and 4 months later, he had an assistant coaching job with a salary open up. He called and offered me a job. I got to go to work at Georgia Tech and have a great job because of a relationship I built in recruiting with him as a kid. And even though I didn't go there, we had a relationship. So I learned through real life experiences that the relationship side of recruiting and people is far bigger than your ego if you don't get the player. And that's something that I'll always believe in because it was part of my life.
The incoming freshman, because you got to have the mix of talent and also the moment not being too big. Mm-hmm. Have you found some guys that even on day one, this guy could be in the lineup and it's not going to bother him, it's not going to faze him?
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, our freshmen were recruited very much so to come in and contribute right away. I think freshmen that you'll see Brock Thompson on the middle infield side. I really like him. I think he has a chance to be a fantastic hitter. And he's played well already here in a short amount of time. Garrett Scholl, Enid, Oklahoma. I think the world of him. Switch hitting outfielder. Very talented kid and a kid that had been committed here since 8th grade. He's fantastic. I've got high hopes for him. Ethan Lund on the mound, left-hand pitcher. He's going to help us this year. Freshman from Indiana. Noah Weck, freshman from Wisconsin. He's going to get in there early and help us. Stormy Rhodes has had a really positive freshman experience so far. Freshman from South Texas. All those kids, Braylon Brooks from Tuttle has competed since the day he stepped on this campus, so he's going to help us. And there's probably a few others. I don't want to leave anyone out. But, our freshmen, you have two choices in the recruiting process. You can build your team in a traditional model where young players come in with the opportunity to push into the lineup early and help you win games and then become that foundational piece from which you can build a roster moving forward. Or you can choose to try to go on the old side, shy away from young players, but then essentially recreate your roster every single year, because every time you do that, an older player based on eligibility could be coming and going. I think you need a combination of players in order to be successful. And so some of our younger foundational recruiting players recruited we think they can help us. They're certainly going to get a chance to, right? And with that, hopefully they become experienced players, and then ultimately someday they become great players. But yes, those freshmen have all shown that they can play, and I'm excited about them. Like I said, without sitting here staring at the roster, I don't want to leave anybody out, but yeah, there's multiple freshmen that factor into our plan, and I don't ever want to lose that part of. It's my opinion, after a tremendous amount of time and effort and study, that foundational piece of your team, where guys are part of what we do for extended periods of time, is still a key part of what we believe in at Oklahoma State, what we're good at, and ultimately really what championships are built on.
You talk about your love for homegrown players. 7 or 8 of the people on your pitching staff are not just homegrown, but from Oklahoma. What do you think that says about the state of baseball in Oklahoma? And
Sure. Well, I want to have love for all of them. I do enjoy and cherish the ones I get to coach for 3 and 4 years. That's a very meaningful experience when you're with a kid for 3, 4, or 5 years. But even the ones that are only here for a short period of time, you can fall in love with getting to see them too. A guy like Brian Holliday, gosh, even though it's just a year, what a joy to be around that kid. Your question about homegrown kids, Oklahoma kids have always been a huge part of Oklahoma State's identity. This year's team is no different, as are many of our past greats. If you look on the wall, there's a Trey Cobb from Broken Arrow, a Michael Freeman from Bishop Kelly, Trevor Boone from Tulsa Memorial, John Littell from Stillwater, Connor Costello, Edmond Santa Fe, Donnie Walton, Thomas Hatch from Jinx, Battenfield from Verdigris. And at the same time, there's a Justin Campbell from California, Colin Simpson, Edmond, Andrew Heaney, Oklahoma City, Monty Ferris, Leedy, Oklahoma. It takes great players from everywhere. But certainly we've had some great ones right here in Oklahoma. That's why they're on the wall here. So yeah, I think we're a perfect mix of a state school that cherishes in-state talent, but also recognizes this is a great place to come play baseball for any kid that wants to be part of a team, that wants to develop, that wants to come have nutrition, strength and conditioning, technology, coaching. The whole dynamic of developing is what we're investing in here most. We believe in how to take a kid from where he's at as a player and try to grow him to be in his best. That's what our mission is, and we do that inside of a team setting. So all of it matters. They're all wonderful. And I'll tell you, you'd be surprised how many guys from far, far away that come to school here that never leave. They fall in love with this place, and this becomes their home away from home.
Davis being one of those in-state kids, getting some preseason attention. I know he started for you, he closed for you,
Yeah.
kind of did everything in between. Do you have a good idea of what he can become this year for you?
Oh, I think he's got a chance to be fantastic. I really do. Believe in Gabe. Love the story and how much he's grown since he's been here. The unique thing about our schedule, I think the first month and certainly the 2 tournaments, they're almost like playing in regionals because of how good all the teams are. And it doesn't matter which day of the tournament you're playing. And the fact that our pitchers are still growing their pitch counts and building up to, say, being able to pitch deep into games, whatever roles we start in or whatever order we throw in or however we stack the games up, it'll be based on where we're at with their pitch count and how we best strategically think we can win that game. It's different when you play 3 different opponents in 3 days than if you played just a series where you might say, in game 1, we'll get their ace, but in games 2 and 3, it might come down. We're not facing those circumstances. I think we play, is it Clemson, Louisville, and Texas? And then we stay and play a very good Texas State team, and then we come home and have a home opener with Texas Arlington, and then go on the road and take on another 4-game week. And I think that tournament, if I'm not mistaken, is at Texas A&M, Tennessee, and some other top 5 team. So yeah, there you go. So the challenges will be fantastic. Every game will have leverage. All the roles will matter, and we'll really have a great feel for how guys respond to how we use them, right? And ultimately, I think what you're always trying to do with your pitchers is figure out that ideal rhythm to how they best perform, how they bounce back. Gabe certainly has the tools to do both start or close. and we'll get him ready to do both, and then we'll settle into our roles as we kind of navigate these early season challenges. But I think the world of Gabe. I think he's got an unbelievable future, and I'm proud of how we've gotten to this point and the growth that he's made. And I think he's going to have a great junior year.
Scott talked about Gabe. You got several really tall pitchers.
It's got to be the tallest collection of athletes we've ever had. I mean, Gabe is all of 6'9", every inch of it. Hunter Watkins is all of 6'9", every inch of it. As is Ryan Muir at 6'9". And then I want to say we fall down to 6'7" with Pesca. 6'7", 6'8". He's a big man, and then we have multiple guys coming in the 6'5", 6'6" category. So we need some exit row seats on all these flights. These are huge guys, but ironically enough, they're all like very. I think for being such big men, they move well. They're good movers for being so big.
Like, I'm a sucker for somebody from the Bronx. I love the Bronx.
Oh, he's got a great personality. He's a better interview than I am. So if you guys want to have some fun, sit him down, and he's awesome. He's got a great outlook, and he's happy to be here. Very loving, warm personality, and well spoken, and really cool kid. I'm really thankful that the ability to go recruit some guys that had some experience and some maturity. He's been a great addition to our team.
One newcomer that I don't think we've discussed that I was curious about, Braden Smith.
Yep.
Sounds like a pretty dynamic athlete.
Braden is a good baseball player. He plays multiple positions. He plays with great energy. He is confident. He is pesky. He is gritty. He is a great kid. He is a great teammate. He has a lot of qualities that really I like being around him. He's a good young man. He battles. He's a left-handed hitter, so he has that difficult to put away type approach in the box. He'll hit the ball to all fields. I think he's just got a tremendous internal voice of how to compete, and he's willing to play whatever position necessary to help the team. So he's got a team-first mentality. All great ingredients. I think he's going to help us.
11 straight, obviously regional appearances, coach. Just broader question here, but just how do you and then the players embrace expectations every year around here?
We try to do the right thing every single day at everything we do. We try to capitalize on the unique opportunity to get our education. We try to capitalize on the unbelievable opportunity to be part of a team. We try to go out and honor the tradition of this program by playing the right way and playing at a high level. We try to honor our fans by giving them a team that they love watching, that plays the game the right way. And we try to honor the game by working at it as hard as we can to try to master something that you cannot master, and that is the great game of baseball. I think the expectations are something that make getting to do what you love fun because people care about it. And they come out and watch it and support it. It makes you feel important that they care about what you're doing, which is obviously a huge honor. To get to do it here is obviously what we all signed up for. I think there's so many awesome things that go along with being part of something that people care about, that have expectations of. I would never want to be a part of something in life where chasing being the best is not within your reach, and we're thankful that we get to do that every day here. So I'm very proud of this program, love what we're doing, and just appreciate the effort of the kids inside it.
Off that, whether it's preseason individual recognition or team recognition rankings, do you encourage the guys to use that as motivation, or would you rather them not think about that at all going into the year?
Well, it's out there, which is totally great, and everybody has information free-flowing at all times, which is fine. But our focus has to be on how each and every day we can get better. One of the signatures of our teams has always been we improve as the season goes on, and that's not by mistake. We took on a very challenging early season schedule that will grow us so that we can day after day after day learn more about what it's going to take to be the best, with the idea of being the best team we can be at the end of the season and play for a championship. What you look like going into the season and what you become during the season, that's why you play the games. If my memory's correct, I think at least was the preseason football prediction, wasn't Arizona State picked last, and they won the conference. So I don't know that the preseason predictions, other than maybe the respect people have for who's returning from a year ago, really have the insight needed to know how this team will play because of the unknowns and of the newcomers and all the different things that can happen. So someone I saw a nice thing said something about 17th or 19th. Well, I can tell you this: we don't want to be the 17th or 19th best team in the country. We want to be the best team in the country. But it's going to take a heck of a lot of work and a lot of focus every day to make that happen. So we'll just put our sights on what we can control, which is love for the game, the ability to work at it every single day, keep learning, keep pushing, keep growing, and then I'll take my chances with the guys. We'll go out there and put it on the line. So preseason stuff's fun. It gives you guys a reason to be interested in what we're doing, to come out today and ask great questions. But for us, what we need to do is we need to answer the call every day and take ownership of how we perform and let the on-field stuff be the story, right? I think that's really what this has taught you over the years, is that ultimately says a lot. And our teams have given us a lot to celebrate. There's been a lot of awesome moments created by these kids, and I think the future teams see that, and they buy into the idea of how to create that.
Going back to something you said earlier, you said Scholl committed as an 8th grader?
He did.
When an 8th grader says, hey, I want to commit, are you just sort of like, okay, sure?
Actually, I think he committed as a 9th grader. I want to be accurate.
Are you like, all right, we'll see you in 3 years, or it just kind of, what is that moment like from?
He is one of the most mature, kind, amazing kids I've ever encountered. He comes from a great family. He's a great brother. His commitment to being here and his ability to put that into words, he was as mature and trustworthy and low maintenance of a kid I've ever encountered in recruiting, who could have been slightly different because of his status or rank or place in the recruiting market. He was as you should interview him. You want to interview a neat person? Interview him. Learn more about him, and then I'll let you enjoy learning that, because he's an awesome kid.
With Aiden Miola, seems like maybe his natural spot is third in this. Based on what you've got coming, is that where you see him? And
Certainly potential to play third, potential to play second. Could see some time at first, and obviously the DH role will fit one of our offensive players who might need a day here or there for their bodies. I know he's a huge part of our team. He's going to be a major offensive player. His versatility is a strength, but his leadership and his investment in his teammates is something that can't go. It can't go without saying that he is one of the best leaders we have and one of the most positive supporters of other people that we have. And ask the guys. I mean, there's nothing like the support you get from a teammate. The praise you receive from somebody on your own team goes so far. So he just brings a lot of good, positive things to our group, and he can definitely impact our team in a couple of different spots on that diamond for sure.
is shortstop maybe the big hole you've got to figure out, especially on the infield at least?
I think it's a question mark simply because nobody here has played there at this level. But I do like our options. Avery Ortiz has played a lot of shortstop. Brock Thompson has played a lot of shortstop. And a transfer, Drew Culbertson, has played a lot of shortstop. He started at Missouri a year ago. He'll be cleared today, in fact, to resume full speed activity. So I think those kids can do it for sure. Who we land on and the configuration, that could vary a little bit, but we do have some good options. And, last year Lane was a great addition to our team. He was a perfect fit at the time. He plugged in beautifully, had a great year here for us. So we've been pretty steady there. Marcus was awfully steady previously before Lane. I think we'll get steady shortstop play for sure. Whether it's Avery or Brock or Drew, we've got some guys that can play it.
Catcher's a spot where it seemed like last year injuries maybe limited your ability to kind of rest some guys. You had to go regular days where a lot of guys.
Yeah.
That may be different this year.
Well, last year was tough because Bo got injured, and then that put us in a situation with Ian and Charlie as just a two-man position. So basically your starter really you don't want to pull the starter out of the game and then put the only other remaining catcher in, and then what if he got hurt? So we were very limited in our ability to make in-game adjustments or changes once Bo got hurt. With Bo being healthy and Ian being healthy and Charlie being healthy, the position has some depth. They all bring something very positive to the team, and I think it's a hard position. Knock on wood, we've had a guy go down at that position every year because of the dynamic of foul balls and contact and collisions and all the things that go on. So I'm thankful to have three good players there, and I think that's when you look ahead as the rosters will move next year from 40-man teams to 34-man teams. You start looking at that. How do you break up a 34-man team? And I think the catching position is a position you must have three catchers so that you can manage the team throughout the year. And I definitely experienced that last year.
A while ago, have you worked squeeze or suicide squeeze yet this preseason?
We have, yeah. A lot of our plays and our offense are named after occurrences in games in which we use them so that the players can more quickly recall the plays. And so some of my favorite team plays that I've ever experienced, we've carried those plays alive in our playbook so we can reference them. And I think that play for Lane last year, the squeeze in the 15th inning or whatever it was against Arkansas, was definitely a play that we'll continue to keep in the playbook because there's proof that it can be a valuable tool. And we'll have some guys that have that kind of skill. And who knows? You'll break that play out again. We'll see.
I'm sure you don't want to tell us what the name is, but does that play have a new name now because of Lane?
Hope so.
Yeah, well, a couple of the best plays we have were named only because at the moment in time it proved how good the play was, and that play proved to our offense a squeeze bunt against Arkansas was a good play. So if you ask them about Arkansas, they'll say, oh, you mean a squeeze bunt? So, yeah. But it's just a good way to celebrate a big moment because obviously we weren't getting any hits against Arkansas that night. I think we struck out 37 times in a 15-inning game. But, yeah, it just shows that a bunt sometimes can be a winning piece of the offense when a home run or a single is hard to get. So, yeah, that play right there was a good springboard play for us at that time of the year if you look back on it. And Lane was a good player. But, with guys leaving, it's just an opportunity for someone else to step in. And hopefully somebody else will find that same confidence and comfort at shortstop the way Lane did last year.
You mentioned the sort of changes that are coming to not just baseball but other sports. How do you feel about that generally, especially how it impacts your roster and everybody's roster after this season?
Well, I think all anyone could ask for is to understand what the changes are, know what the parameters of the new model is so that you can then begin to work inside it and be effective with it. That's really all you can ask for. And then do the very best you can to build a team and a program that reflects your values inside of that new system. And the hardest part for anyone has been the period of time in which the unknowns existed, and then trying to operate while things were up in the air to plan effectively for the future when you weren't exactly sure what the future looked like. But, I'll say this, the last 5 years has been as much change as ever occurred at one time that I can ever remember, and you guys are smart, you could look that up. At any time in college sports, did you have a pandemic? Did you have a change in transfer rules, a change in how athletes can be compensated rules? In our sport, a change in the draft from 40 rounds to 20 rounds. In our sport, the draft moving from June to July. Like, never have you seen so many things change all in a small window. That was a lot to adjust to, adapt to, and try to strategize inside of. And I'm really proud of the way the program, the way the school has supported us, the way people have embraced our needs, that we've been very successful during those 5 years. It's been a hard 5 years to figure out. Lots of stuff goes on, and you're sitting here trying to play catch-up sometimes. But I do think we've tried to be as consistent, strategic, and sound in our decision-making as we could be, and I think we're going to have to do that moving forward.